You've tuned in to Bellingham Podcast Media Tech for the week of May 21, 2017, episode 37. From the, hey, what's that big orange thing in the sky? City of Subject Excitement, I'm AJ Barce.
And straight out of the third planet from the sun, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, last week we posed a challenge to live with less apps on our mobile phones. Were you up for the task? We were. We'll share how this past week went for us. And guess what? We've got another challenge for you. Relax. It won't hurt a bit. Or will it? Have no fear with the technology you hold dear. The time is near, to be clear. Let's clear the deck. What the heck? This is BPM Tech.
This is my eye roll over the mic. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
It's audible. It's audible.
How you doing, Chris?
You know, there's a song in the 90s that was a pretty big hit. The chorus and pretty much all the words was, I get knocked down, but I get back up again. And yes.
I get knocked down.
Yeah, I haven't been seriously thumping tubs or anything like that. And
But you are Chumbawamba.
I'm feeling a little Chumbawumby right now. It's been a heck of a week. How you doing?
Oh, good. Thank you for taking me down amnesia lane.
Yes.
Tired. Just, the whole tired dad thing.
But yes, and you have a right to be tired.
Word.
Yes, but let's get to the big show.
Hey, so we have this is the Listener-isode because we have a lot of listener feedback.
That's right.
And thank you everybody. Like Chris and I do have some stats on our show, and in the last couple of weeks, like we've seen a huge spike, and so thank you. So anybody who's new to the show,
Hello.
And those of you who have been listening to us from day one,
Hello.
So thank you. We
in stereo. Thank you very much.
as we always say at the end of every show, we do really appreciate all of our listeners. So let's dive in. So back in episode 36, and if you're keeping a scorecard, that was last episode.
That's right.
We were talking about efficiencies and trying to be better with our devices. And we may mention that Apple, I believe my exact comment was, Apple iOS users, I'm looking at you. You can indeed remove or delete your stock applications. Dan from Japan, hello, tweeted at us saying that a point of clarification, you can remove it from your screen, but it is technically still on your device. You're not going to save any space. Which is true, but nevertheless, we're framing it with regards to the fact that if you don't use it, lose it. Whether it's lose it on your screen or lose it on your device in general, it's good to get the workflow and with apps that will make you better in your day.
That's right. And thanks again for the clarification. We want to be as accurate as possible. And we appreciate you actually listening to us. This is a wonderful thing.
And we have more. We have a few others. Jen from Bellingham wrote in.
Yes.
And pointed us to a piece of technology that I don't think you or I, this was not on my radar.
Never heard of
this.
this
And I travel.
Thing. Yep.
It's called, I'm going to call it Illy. I-L-I.
Okay, I'll call it Ely.
Ely. And it's really interesting. The URL, I'm going to throw it out right now because you can't just go to like illy.com. Doesn't work. It's IAMILI.com.
I am Ely.
Yeah. So did you check out the site?
I haven't yet.
Okay. So I did. I did some poking because I was quite curious by this. And Illy is deemed the first, quote, wearable portable translator. And specifically, they showcased a young lady who was in Japan recently using this thing. And of course, I always have my eyebrow raised, especially because they are taking pre-orders. I'm always a little hesitant because I'm just like, okay, is this vaporware? What is this? And is it just an artist's concept of what this device would do? So I did a little bit of probing, and what was interesting is that this is a device about the size of a Ricoh Theta, or if you're not familiar with that camera, it's probably about, half the width of an iPhone 5S and just as thin as an iPhone 5S. And what it does is it has a microphone on one side that you speak in and a speaker on the other. And within about, according to their website, it's like within seconds, you get a direct translation of what you speak into this. So if you're a Star Trek fan, the translator is here.
That sounds like a fun toy to take with you on a trip.
Yeah, and so immediately I'm thinking, well, are they using like the Google Translate API? This thing's got to have like 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi. No Wi-Fi needed.
That's helpful.
And they actually tout the fact they have this technology. They actually have a local database on the device that as you live speak into it, the reason why it's so snappy is that it doesn't have to rely on an internet connection.
That is helpful because when you're traveling overseas, oftentimes you
It
may
doesn't
not
exist.
have.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
if you travel and you think you're going to have any connection to the internet, unless you want to pay out the nose for a SIM, you just
Good luck.
expect not to.
Yeah.
And so, it piqued my interest. So, and I'll actually play a clip here, a little bit of their actual little promo video, so that you can kind of get a feel for this. Okay.
I can't understand any of this. Okay, so what do we do? Excuse me. I don't know how to buy this ticket. Akasaka Excel Hotel. I want to stay at a room with a nice view.
Well, now.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, right? Like she just busts out and like, I want to talk to you about this, and it speaks it, and it is very jarring. So here's what's cool: is it supports English to Spanish, Mandarin, and Japanese, and then also does it for Mandarin to English or Mandarin to Japanese. So it doesn't do. It's not the multi-language, like you can speak and it does like all 100 billion languages.
It's not C3PO worthy.
No, not yet. But what's really cool, and I'll put a link in the show notes, and I'm going to probably slaughter the CEO's name, so forgive me. CEO Takuro Yoshida. If you actually go to the link in the show notes, it's like if TEDx and an Apple keynote had a weird love child, it was his presentation on his technology. And it's an interesting story because basically he was traveling to America as a Japanese citizen, and he wasn't really comfortable with his English, and he didn't want to like botch, speaking and getting around in America. And so that was kind of the probe for him to start this company and start this translator. It's really cool. It's a long video, but it's a really cool example of, innovation. Like this CEO bootstrapping this company and bringing to us a new piece of technology that, it is not a smartphone. It does have some other functionalities that our smartphones don't really have yet. It's really cool.
Here's an opportunity for a global market as time goes on, because iamili.com. Check it out, because the video is going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And should you be traveling when the time comes, this could be really helpful, especially when you have to deal with devices and TSA or customs. This may be able to maybe pass under the radar.
Yeah, and like I said, we're not here at BPM. We're not like endorsing that you purchase thing, because I don't even know how much this device is going to be. But it is cool to get on our radar because, again, it is a new piece of technology. It's something different, and it adds a piece of functionality that these awesome tricorders, smartphones that we carry can't really do. I tried Google Translate when I was in Japan, and it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
And this thing is. If you watch the CEO give his talk, he live on stage, he basically like rattles off really fast Japanese, and it was able to translate it into English.
So in a way, he's, to coin a phrase, thinking different.
He is thinking different. So cool. That's all I got to say. And Jen, thanks for writing into BPM.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So let's go and continue our weekly tradition that we started as of last week, the repeal and replace of apps. So last week we called on a challenge to delete or remove or move, however you'd like to, your favorite social network boredom killer app of choice. And so, Chris, I believe Twitter was your crux.
Yes. So I'm on Minimal Tech at Twitter, and I have an app on my phone called Tweetbot, which is a nice way to curate the fire hose that is Twitter information. And I've often found myself, when there's a random 30 seconds of free time in my day, did anyone like anything that I posted?
Ooh. Did you get likes?
No, actually.
Oh,
People don't like when I'm tweeting. I don't get it.
I like what you're tweeting.
Well, I appreciate that. Is someone following me? Is there some kind of like dopamine or endorphin rush I can get from a little ping?
Ooh, I'm digitally popular.
Yes. Unfortunately, no, I'm not. In the 100+ million users that are on Twitter. So as a result, I deleted Tweetbot for this past week after we wrapped up recording our episode. I also deleted Instagram, and just because I had tried some things with my tech tips and posting that to there and just seeing, did anyone like it? It was, a couple likes here and there, but it's just a couple less distractions. And I had a little bit of a discovery as far as deleting these apps. New perspective. I didn't miss it naturally, which was our supposed intention. But I also
our hypothesis. We're scientists.
That's right. I also was realizing I do a lot of content consumption. I have a lot of apps and I have a lot of websites that I read to try to gain new information. And I think that started after 9/11 because I wanted to be in the know. And right around the early 2000s, early aughts of technology, there was a lot of new stuff coming out, and I wanted to be kind of on the cutting edge. Mm-hmm. And that kind of it's kind of stuck with me for about 16 years since that time, and I'm continuously looking for the new breaking news when it comes to technology. And I'm in there's not a lot that's really huge breaking news that's like, oh my goodness. However, I have gotten into the content creation mode where I'm either pulling information or at least producing it to put it out there for people.
You are a creator.
I'm trying to, and I'm finding that the content creation is like baking a dessert for somebody. And as opposed to eating a dessert.
Okay.
And so I'm enjoying more of creation versus consumption, and I'm realizing how about having less that I'm being made aware of to let my brain sift through all the non-important headlines. So I've started deleting other apps such as Reddit off my phone, off of medium.com, which is a great website for essays and writing and other types of I don't have my RSS feed. I usually use Feedly app on my phone. And I don't just have that information readily available to consume. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit less than I'm using it on my phone, because when the time comes when I'm sitting at my laptop or at a desktop computer, that's when I'm in content creation mode, composition mode. And so that was something that, I'll see your tweet bot, Chris, and I'll raise you some news apps. Okay. And so I've eliminated a little bit more from my phone. So you, AJ, have undertaken the challenge to delete Facebook for a week.
Yeah, and so I deleted that. I mean, it showed you on my phone, and I also signed out from my browser, so it wasn't readily at my fingertips. Which, full disclosure, like a lot of what I do in my job, I do a lot of outreach and social media and stuff. What was interesting is that like I didn't realize how much of that was work related I was doing on my phone, and it was kind of just reminding me like, oh, I was doing more work on my phone off hours than I should have. So when I would get into the office, I basically would fire up in the morning, do my outreach that I need to at the afternoon, at the end of the day, and so basically I checked in quote unquote to Facebook to do work. Basically twice a day and it's kind of like the principle that I think you and I talked off the mic about, where if you actually dedicate like a specific hour block to do email as opposed to like having it constant in the day, you actually are more productive. And so I kind of like halfway through this last week, I kind of had that aha moment that we kind of should adapt that for our social media, for those of us who are using social media in work related means. Yes, there are, PR issues that you need to like hit, during campaign type stuff that you're doing. But relatively speaking, you don't have to fight fires all the time.
Yeah, we don't take the clean dishes out of the dishwasher and put them away and then go do some chores. And then about an hour later, we're going to go back and empty the utensils and put them back. Right. And then go to do some other chores, and then come back and do the upper rack, which has all the cups and glasses. You're doing the dishes, you're emptying the entire dishwasher at that time frame. And that is something that we can apply to what we're doing with our tech. Here's your dedicated chunk of time. You do your social media, and then you put it away and you go do something else.
Once again, you are the king of analogies.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
The other thing that I realized is, so the flip side of that, so outside of my work, I also have my photography. I actually have a business page, and I do actually have, clientele that do contact me through Facebook Messenger. And if you're a Facebook user, you probably already know this, but there is a dedicated app for Messenger, and there's a dedicated app for Facebook, and the two don't really talk to each other anymore. But what's nice about it is I also realized, and I have a link in the show notes, that let's say you are Facebook averse, like you, Mr. Powell.
Hello.
And you have people that are using Facebook Messenger, like people use WhatsApp or these other instant messaging. I have not tested this, but I have it on good authority that you can actually sign up for Facebook Messenger sans a Facebook account.
That would be helpful if you have a number of people that would warrant that.
Yes. So, but what's an interesting thing about it is, for instance, let's say you had a group of people, okay, that you are communicating with on Facebook Messenger, and you yourself are not a Facebook person. From what I understand, if you sign up using the Facebook Messenger app, using a phone number, you can basically create a Messenger account. And that allows you to basically communicate using Facebook Messenger to the people that are either doing the same thing as you or having an actual Facebook account.
That is compelling for the other 7 people in this world other than me that do not have a Facebook account.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. I would throw that out, and I've got a link in the show notes. The other thing is for those of us that are business owners and you have business pages, there is a dedicated Facebook app for managing your pages. And that is the one thing that I did keep on my phone during our challenge because I mean, it's my business.
You are making money from this as opposed to social. You're making money.
Yes, and so it allows me to check my stats, how my promoted posts and all that other jazz that I'm doing on Facebook, how those are working, the campaign part of what I do, and that was really, I mean, it was interesting because and also you can have multiple. So I have multiple business accounts, one for my work, one for my artistry, and so on. And they're evenly tabbed. What's nice about it is it gets to what you were talking about. If we're content creators, that is the app that we should be focusing on because that's where we're plugging our wares, stumping our wares, as I keep reiterating. And the other Facebook app is where you're consuming, or you're bragging. I mean,
yes.
However you see Facebook, right? So anyway, it's an interesting twist that I kind of saw. So yeah, it was just an interesting thing. Like again, refocusing social media in terms of either content consumption or content creation. It kind of just brings, I don't know, the gravity of what I'm doing. Like, am I just killing boredom or am I being creative?
So here's a food for thought. During the workday, in which most of us are working, and if you're one of the retired folks out there, congratulations, we're very happy for you. And you got all day to be bored. What if you were to check Facebook in the evening, kind of like reading the evening newspaper in the den with the pipe and the dog who fetches your slippers? What if you dedicated that time outside of instead of like in chunks during the day where when you lose distraction or lose focus off something, it takes you a while to get it back.
Yeah.
And then compartmentalize that. That's something to think about.
Yeah. So anyway, it was interesting. And the other thing that I also dove into during this last week, either somebody was signed in, has a username similar to mine, or somebody was trying to hack my account, which has happened several times and luckily failed. Something else I wanted to point out is, one, Facebook will notify you if somebody tries to attempt to blitz into your account, which happened to me this last week. Also, you can turn on two-factor authentication for your Facebook. And we've talked about 2FA before.
And that's a friendly acronym, 2FA.
Yes, 2FA. So, or TFA. Two-factor authentication is where if you sign in, you have to answer a text or you have an authenticator app that gives you a 6-digit code that you have to put in at the time that you log in. In today's day and age of digital pilferage,
yes,
I would highly encourage users, either lovers or haters of Facebook, to turn that on so that somebody doesn't try to commandeer your account. Getting to another thing that I mentioned last week, I also turned off or deleted or removed the stock iOS calendar app. I ended up turning it back on for one feature, which I'll get to in a second. But I've been using the Moleskine time page thing, and I've also sent the developer team a couple of notes that because I mentioned last episode. There's a couple of things that just.
You are an excellent tester. You can pick off all of the bugs in something.
Yeah, so I had a couple of, they weren't bugs, they're just a couple of features that I found were kind of clunky. Anyway, they replied and they're like, hey, thanks for the feedback. So, hey, time page crew, if you're listening, hello. Yeah, so far that type of list viewable calendaring has really been working for me because I use another app for my to-do list, which is Quest. I've mentioned it before on the show. And although I still like Quest because I like my little avatar guy, but Time Page has really helped me with my family calendaring and the multiple calendars that I have there. The reason why I had to turn on the stock calendar app on iOS is for one feature alone, and that is the widget. So
yes.
So because I have I like swiping to on iOS. If you swipe from left to right, you get your widget page. I don't like the Moleskine time page widgets. Maybe. I like being able to swipe and seeing my blocks of time, whereas I like seeing in time page like what's my to-do list I have to do today. So that was the one thing I had to turn it back on because I do like that one widget in iOS.
And from an iPad Pro standpoint, Time Page looks absolutely glorious.
Oh, does it?
On a big screen. Oh, yeah. I got Time Page on my iPad Pro. And on a big 12.9-inch screen, the animations and the day at a glance and it's well done. It's not like they blew up the screen from
it's not a universal app. You have to pay for both versions as well.
And boy howdy, I do enjoy the look of the Time Page app on an iPad Pro. So if you got a regular iPad, I bet you'll enjoy the same experience as well.
Yeah, no, the thing with Time Page, for me, it was what I thought was going to be a double hit. I could get rid of the stock iOS calendar app and also get rid of the stock iOS weather app because I never used it anyway. The one thing I love about Time Page is like so at the beginning of my day when I'm listening to my morning podcasts and drinking my cup of coffee, I open up my calendar and I can see basically in Time Page my to-do, and at the bottom you can push on the bottom part and it shows throughout the day what the weather's going to be like, and it's motorcycle season. So for me today, like I rode in on two wheels because also this is May is bike month and also bike to work day, and so I motorbiked to work today. But that's what's really nice. I can see, because here in the Pacific Northwest, you never gauge your day based off of what the morning weather looks like,
Of course not. It's schizophrenic around here.
Exactly. So Time Page is really nice on the bottom. I can see what my to-do list is and see when, if at all, the weather's going to go above 60 or start raining.
Very cool.
So that's been my experience. To this week's challenge is we want to see how much time you waste, and I use the word waste deliberately, with your smart device. So Chris and I have done a little bit of looking. We have an app that we're going to try and put on our phones, and it's called Realized, Realizd. I think it's a D capital.
They don't like vowels either.
They don't like vowels. And what Realized does is that it takes into account how often you look at your phone and what you do on your phone in said time. And so we're going to try it out for a week and see what our time wasters are. Now, jokingly, I've said the way that I always tell how much I've wasted time on my phone is usually the battery meter, because if I have to plug in my phone midday, I have seriously been wasting some time on my phone, or using GPS, one of the two. So it'll be interesting to see what our stats look like.
I could pretty much predict where I'm going to be.
Well, that's a hypothesis. That is us being scientists.
My hypothesis for my use on next week's episode, the 38. Tune in on 102.3 FM KMRE Low Power Community Radio on Thursdays at 9 and Saturdays at 1:30 for episode 38. I got a feeling the music apps, both iTunes or Apple Music and Spotify and TuneIn and my podcast app of choice this week, it's Castro. I have like 3 or 4 that I kind of shuffle through just because I want to be familiar with what's going on. I love Pocket Casts. I love Overcasts. I don't like the default stock podcast app on the iPhone, so I have that hidden. But this week it's Castro because they have a little inbox feature. And I bet that takes up the most amount of time.
I bet you mine will be very similar. Mine's Pocket Cast. You tuned me in on them because I hate the stock iOS.
And probably the next one would be Safari. But I also just loaded Opera Mini on my phone. And so, a web browser will probably be the second most used.
Cool. So with that said, let's dive into, we have listener voicemails.
Voicemail.
Can you tell we're low production value?
We'll use that clip whenever we got voicemails in the future.
You've got voicemail. So at the top of the show, we said that Dan from Japan, or the Rising Sun Sailor, if you follow him on Instagram or Twitter, he also gave us a little voicemail. So let's tune in.
Hey guys, this is Dan, the Rising Sun Sailor, with some feedback on your recent episodes regarding disconnecting from social media. First, regarding taking a break, there's 2 tactics that I've employed, especially late last year and with all the election coverage on Facebook. The first one is to go into account settings and disable your account. Facebook specifically allows you to disable your account for up to 7 days. While not good for the long run, it is nice in the short term. The other, more practical approach is to simply move your application to the second page of your phone. You'll be amazed at how less frequent you check that application when, coupled with turning off notifications, you don't open your phone and get immediately smacked in the face by a red dot with a number in it. Instead, you're making a conscious choice to go to that application when it's convenient, when it makes sense to do so. And to be honest, you tend to forget about the apps in day-to-day usage. The second tip that I have, not so much with disconnecting from social media, but notifications in general, is actually, Chris, in relation to your comment about going for a walk without your phone. But in my case, it's using technology to disconnect. So I've been an Apple Watch Series 2 wearer for the last few months, and there's actually one unexpected benefit, and that's a built-in GPS. I used to always run with my phone strapped to my arm because I like to track my mileage without being constrained to a predefined route. Unfortunately, this comes with the consequence of notifications while I'm running. Having the built-in GPS on my watch, coupled with a pair of Bluetooth headphones, means that I get to run without a constant stream of text messages and other distractions. Now, the other benefit to that is it's a lot easier to go for a run without a 6S Plus strapped to my arm. And yes, I know you can buy other watches with GPS, but they don't come with the integration with iOS that allows me to interact with my phone, and yes, the subsequent notifications, when I actually want that feature, say when I'm out and about in town. Anyway, sorry for the long message, guys, but I figured your other listeners might appreciate some more tools in the toolbox. Take care, guys. Sail safe.
Brilliant.
Righto, Danny. So totally. If you find yourself, well, first of all, you should have a clean front page. If you ask Chris Powell and
That's right.
Yeah. If you look at my home screen, I think I have like 3 folders with my what I call it the Rolodex, my normal stuff, that messages and email and stuff I put into one folder. I've got Pocket Cast across the top. I've got I'll take a look because I can't remember. I have Pandora and I have Time Page, and then I have a home folder and a daily grind folder. So I have basically 3 or 4 icons across the top and 4 icons on the bottom, and that's my front screen. And everything that I do daily, I can see at a glance at my front screen. My second, when I swipe, that's my added features is what I usually do. So for instance, if I am in the field and I am doing some post-production of some photos, I've got like Snapseed and I've got a handful of other apps that I use on the fly to do some of my photography work. But relatively speaking, like my front page of my phone, that's it. Like that's where I live. So if you want to wean yourself off of your social media reliance, you can totally take Danny's advice and kind of move it onto the second page.
I think it's a great idea just because when you go back into your homepage, just have a blank screen. It is your wallpaper. You get the full view and you don't have anything cluttering it up. And I usually have everything either on the second page or in a folder of apps. And so good on you for trying to keep a clean desktop. I concur, Doctor.
So I want to look to you, Chris, on the other part of his voicemail. Running with a iPhone 6S Plus or whatever. Yeah. I see that you're wearing a wearable today. It's not an Apple Watch like Danny's, but
no. I think for running with a device such as this, a couple things occur to me, Mr. Pragmatic. I am running with a $700 device, and that is somewhat fragile, as we've seen from many screens. And quite frankly,
Thanks for looking at me, Chris.
no, I wasn't looking at you this time. Anyway,
My screen's fixed. Anyway.
yes, it is, and it looks lovely. I don't like having a chance of breaking an expensive device, and so. And also, unfortunately, I'm not a runner, but I have props for those that do run. So good on you, Dan, for being a runner. If for the Apple Watch to be able to have a mobile way of tracking your exertion, your exercise, the work you've done, great. One more way that you can disconnect from having that black mirror in your, on your person, and it's a way to get rid of the anchor. I think it's a great idea, and for those that are wearing wearables, there's the synchronization functionality, which is always helpful. I have a Fitbit Charge HR, whatever that means. I think it's for heart rate. But anyway, it was black, and it gives me my steps, and it has a silent alarm, and that's great. And plus, it has a rechargeable battery, as opposed to the bad run of luck I've had with some watches in my collection that the battery dies, and then it's like 8 p.m. and then it actually says 4 p.m. So then I get a little cranky. So yeah, if we're having another device to be able to go remote and do work, I think you're on the right track. No pun intended.
Ha! I saw what you did there. That wraps it up for this edition of BPM Tech. Thank you again so much, listeners, for rating us on the iTunes, on the Google Play, on the SoundCloud, on the Spreaker, that's Speaker with an R, or wherever the heck else you podcast. Remember, if you're in the Bellingham area, you might be listening to us on
102.3 FM KMRE.
Low power
Community radio. That's the Museum of Radio and Electricity here in Bellingham. We're on Thursdays at 9 a.m. and Saturdays around 1:30 p.m. We'd love to have you tune in and listen to our sultry voices.
Sultry. On that sultry note, I'm AJ Barce.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks again for listening to us on BPM Tech.
Sultry.
Sultry, baby.